Ah, okay, here we go. Let's continue. So I saw that there are a couple new Blackrock Mountain cards released today. The what was it called? The egg? The dragon egg looks interesting. It's like, so they broke Warsong Commander for a while, and it's almost as if they're like, here, have a card that works great with Warsong Commander right after we fix it. Alright, let's see. We're up against Warrior. This can be a difficult matchup. Cogmaster turn 1 would just get eaten by Axe, and he mulligans. Axe is definitely one of the cards he'd keep. I don't think I'd keep this. I want to actually pair this with something like Hobgoblin. There's just so many ways for him to deal with my early pressure. On the other hand, it might be worth keeping the Cogmaster as a means of working through all his weapons, his removal. The problem about that is, because the Fiery War Axe has 2 charges, it makes it so that even if I use the Cogmaster to eat 1 charge, it still has another charge to eat my MechWarrior, for example. But this Onoyotron's an excellent draw because it lets me protect it. Now he's going to need to use Hero Power Shield Slam to get to it. Hello, hello, everybody. A very warm welcome today. Okay, So, I would like to play the Piloted Shredder here, but I also want to make sure that my Divine Shield stays up, so I feel like this is almost a necessity. And then there's no reason to hold on to this Warbot right now. I might hold it if I had a Hobgoblin, but right now I think I can get a lot of damage in by playing all the minions that I can. So someone asks, did I consider to put Grom in this deck? And the answer is yes. Actually, when I first built this deck, Grom was the very first card, or very first legendary I put into it. I didn't have Dr. Boom at first. Okay. Alright, that's fine. We'll play our Piloted Shredder, and we'll attack. Brawl would be an unfortunate card for us, but I don't think we can play around it. And also, we have this Death Spite in hand, so we gotta start using weapon charges. In this position, we are more of an aggro deck anyways. But yeah, the reason why I eventually cut Grom was because it was really difficult for me to play him on turn 8 for value. Alright, let's see. What's the best way to deal with this? It's either Death Spite or Warsong Commander plus Cruel Task. If I Death Spite, I'll have to sacrifice probably my Warbot, and then run the MechWarrior in, and then hit him for 5, putting him... So this deck is still the same deck as before. I haven't changed any cards, really. See, Orchid Warsong Commander Taskmaster... Curve's a little bit better, but I do like having this weapon in play. Although I find it kind of doubtful that I can rush him down. But we'll see. But yeah, this is the same deck list I've been running for about a week or 2 now, or I guess since the beginning of the season.
That belongs in a museum.
Okay, that's not a bad play for him. Here I could play Warsong Commander plus Cruel Task. Seems like I'm not going to get maximum value out of this. Maybe I should just go all face here. If I hit him with both the Death Spite and the Piloted Shredder, That's 8 damage, puts him at 7. Next turn, I have Death Spite plus Cruel Task at the very least. So I'll be 1 damage off lethal, assuming he completely kills the Piloted Shredder. I have Dr. Boom to try to get some extra damage in. We'll just go all face. I feel like this is our best shot of winning. Normally I don't like to do this, but sometimes the situation just forces you to make plays you don't want to do. Like, typically I'm not an aggro player, so the idea of going face isn't very attractive to me. Snow Chugger is a pretty decent draw. It means that Harrison needs to kill it, or he uses the weapon and gets frozen. Alright, so I attack with the Death Spite. I can play Warsong, Cruel Task, Annoyotron. The Cruel Task runs into the Slime. The Annoyotron deals 3 damage, puts him at 4. Alternately, I could play Dr. Boom, attack this, hope the bots go where I want them to go. The Boom bots. So close yet so far. I guess I could alternately use a Taskmaster to kill his Taskmaster, which seems about... It seems a little bit better, actually. Because it keeps the Warsong Commander... I mean, it keeps my Annoyotron somewhat protected. I would have liked to play Dr. Boom with the Whirlwind effect of Death Spite so I could get the Boom bots to trigger exactly when I want to. But it isn't completely necessary to do that, as if I'm able to wait 1 turn, they can attack anyways. And so this next turn, if my Warsong Commander lives, it's going to be an example of the Warsong bug holding back this deck a little bit, but not quite enough to prevent it from being playable. Okay, so I'm going to have to ignore this Armor Smith, I think. And, let's see. Yeah. And then I just have to hope he doesn't have Brawl. And even if he does have Brawl... So I could have 2 more damage right now, and as close as this is, it probably would make a pretty big difference. So the 2 Acolyte and the 2 Jeeves actually is something that I'm very much a proponent for. Because before I ran Jeeves, I ran into serious problems with card draw, and in my experience with Jeeves so far, it has almost always been a good card. The nice thing about Acolyte is that when you play Acolyte, unlike some cards like Novice Apprentice, Novice Engineer, where you draw the card immediately, the Acolyte doesn't draw you a card, so you can play the Acolyte to dump your hand, play the Jeeves, and then you have cards that you can draw later with the Acolyte that don't interfere with Jeeves, which actually end up being really nice. The other thing is that Jeeves isn't a card that you would really want to play very early on. Like, you'd never play it on curve, and you most likely wouldn't play it turns 5, 6, or even 7 sometimes, because you won't get enough value out of it. This is a very tempting hand to keep. I might actually want to play the Warbot turn 1, even though I have Hobgoblin. And then Death Spite is just in general a good card to keep against Shaman, because first, weapons are great to clear their mid-range minions, and the Whirlwind effect is also good for clearing things like Haunted Creeper. I'll try keeping this hand, even though I'd rather have a Fiery War Axe, and because of the Hobgoblin, I might end up being somewhat greedy with these cards. I think I'd be playing at least one of them. Maybe even both. Like, I might play Warbot, then turn to Annoyotron. The Warbot lets me deal with at least one of his totems. Alright, so... there might actually... keeping the Hobgoblin might have actually been wrong here. That's perfect. That's actually exactly what I wanted. Alright, so we'll play the Onotron, and next turn we can coin out the Screwjank. And this Hobgoblin probably wasn't a great keep, considering that my plan was to play these minions. But we still have the opportunity to draw into other things that the Hobgoblin can buff late game, or mid to late game. And we do have a good play next turn with Piloted Shredder as well. Okay. Let's see. So our main plays here are to decide what we want to do with the... either play Piloted Shredder or play Deathspite. Piloted Shredder does seem better, although I have many weapons, and it might be better to start developing my weapons.
What now?
So we know we're going to trade into the Spirit Wolf. He's not overloaded for next turn. I can get slightly punished if he plays a Flame Tongue, but I should be able to clear the Flame Tongue pretty easily. I can also clear the Zombie Chow if I play the Cruel Task, but I think that's straight up weaker than playing Piloted Shredder. The Screwjank has the best sound effect. Yeah, I know, right? The sound effects are a big part of why I like this game so much. Alright, so I think this last turn was something where I definitely had two choices, either Deathspite or the Piloted Shredder, each of which could be a pretty big deal. Alright, so we'll play Deathspite on the Shredder, I think, and then do our best to clear this board. Alright, so we can't clear this board, so we might actually just ignore them. Seeing as if we trade the Shredder into the ship's cannon, then it's as if I lost out on 4 damage. So the thing about this is that Flame Tongue is still somewhat of an issue. And so is Fire Elemental. Fire Elemental will hit the Piloted Shredder, so it might make more sense to actually attack with this and lose out on the damage. He'll trade, or he'll run the Zombie Chow into the Screwjank, Fire Elemental, the Screwjank instead. Then I need to attack the Fire Elemental, I'll lose the Piloted Shredder. So I know this is going face, and... this is kind of a tough decision. I should experiment more with going face. I'm very much about clearing, but in a lot of games in the past that I've lost, I've usually lost by like 1 or 2 points of damage. Alright, so we can attack the Zombie Chow, Cruel Task, the ship's cannon, attack the Stoneclaw Totem, and play our Deathspite. Next turn we can Hobgoblin plus Jeeves for 1 card. Not optimal, but yeah, this is one of the reasons why attacking the Chow would have been better, because then Argus would have buffed only, or would have buffed the Stoneclaw instead. So even though I have Hobgoblin plus Jeeves next turn, ideally I would like him to play something like maybe Dr. Boom here, so that I can use the Execute instead. So we Cruel Task, we execute. We'll probably ignore the boom bots, even though Flame Tongue will do work on us. Like I said, we're going to experiment a little bit more with the more face strategy. So that means we hit him for 9 this turn. And we can even Jeeves for 2 cards, which might be better than saving it in combo with the Hobgoblin, because there's a good chance I'll draw into something I can combo with Hobgoblin anyways. So I might as well get the 2 cards now.
Can I help you, sir? No problem. Let me get back.
Alright, so this Frothing Berserker and this Death Spite makes it so that Warsong Commander ends up being a really nice draw for us. Unfortunately, we didn't get a card to combo with the Hobgoblin from the draw. Hey, Phone Tap. I heard you've been tearing up the tournament scene lately. It's actually kind of good if he does let this Jeeves live. But let's see how much more value we can milk out of it. So I can play Hobgoblin plus Acolyte of Pain in the same turn. Or I could play just Dr. Boom.
What now?
If I play Hobgoblin plus Acolyte, I think I will actually not use the Whirlwind effect and Death Spite, because it's going to be the same either ways, except that the Acolyte and the Hobgoblin will take less damage.
I wonder.
It might just be better to drop Dr. Boom here. And the next turn I can dump 3 cards.
What now?
I really want to do Save This Weapon, but... Alright, we'll do it. We'll do it this way. We'll play the Hobgoblin and we'll play the Acolyte of Pain. I think because the Hobgoblin represents so much threat that he'll kill the Hobgoblin over the Jeeves, which is actually a good thing for us. Except that we drew into the Jeeves. So now we have, like, too many Jeeves. Reincarnate. Alright, that's cute. So he gets 1 card from Jeeves as well.
Let me get back.
So we can play Dr. Boom and Cogmaster and still draw a card, and then just send the rest towards face, and just let him deal with whatever I have on the board.
Yes, sir.
Let's see, I could get punished if he plays something like Bloodlust. That's 9 damage, plus the 8 he has, so if he has extra damage in hand, Bloodlust could kill me. Damn. That's exactly lethal, too. So, maybe it was right to play the Dr. Boom earlier last turn, instead of going for so much Jeeves value. And I maybe should have considered playing around Bloodlust, but I was under the premise that he didn't run Bloodlust, and it was a risk that I took and I got punished for. I know that Bloodlust is becoming more popular, but I still... like, the reason why I discounted Bloodlust was because I saw Reincarnate in the deck, and I know that the main person that runs Bloodlust is Hotform, and his list doesn't run Reincarnate. But yeah, that game was definitely winnable.
Versus Jaina.
You asked for it.
If I had changed my line of play a little bit. Maybe I got a little bit too greedy, I think. I had such a dominant board that maybe it would have been better off just to clear something. I think that that would be a fair assessment. Right? Because if you looked at my board, I was so far ahead. I had just drawn Dr. Boom. I mean, just played Dr. Boom. And if I just killed one minion, he wouldn't have lethal. So I'm gonna play, assuming this is Mech Mage, I'll play the Cogmaster here. It allows me to trade with Mech Warper. It allows me to trade with Snowchugger with combination of this Warbot. And if he doesn't play anything, then I'll just play the Warbot anyways. Alternately, if I wasn't afraid, or if I didn't want to have to trade with a Warbot, I mean, with a Mech Warper or Snowchugger, then Warbot would have been a better turn 1 play, because then I could follow up with Cruel Task and then hit him for 4 damage. So the only thing different about version 1.1 is that I wanted to set aside a different stat for rank 5 through Legend versus pre-rank 5, because the stats before rank 5, I would say, were somewhat inflated because of the kinds of players I play against.
What now?
So he coined out the Mad Scientist. I could Warbot trade, and then he gets Mirror Entity, and then next turn I could drop Cruel Task on the Warbot. Or I could Cruel Task the Mad Scientist, attack in, and then use the Warbot to trigger Mirror Entity when I feel like it's best for me. Alright, let's give this a try. I'm not really too sure about this play. We'll experiment this a little bit. The other reason why I kind of want to play it this way is because I want a mech for the Screwjank. And I don't want to play the Screwjank too early to just have it die. The kind of annoying thing here is that I can't actually kill the Warbot. So if the Warbot gets Mirror Entity'd, it does cause some issue for me. Especially because I don't know what he's running. I guess I could play Warsong Commander and let that get copied. If it doesn't get copied, then I'm fine.
No problem.
Actually, I think that was a mistake, because now he can charge a minion out. For some reason, I thought that I could still cast the Warbot in the same turn and then kill off the Warsong Commander. So I think the play that I actually wanted to do was to play Warbot and Hero Power.
I wonder.
Because there are a lot of different cards that is going to make my Warsong Commander incredibly sad.
Someday I'll be just like you.
But that's actually really good news for me. So it looks like this guy's playing something weird. Some sort of tempo mage, right? I want to save the Warbot plus Screwjank combination, I think. So I could play Jeeves now for no value. It's kind of risky. I think I could just Death Spite, kill the Sorcerer's Apprentice and the Warsong Commander. He can Hero Power the Warsong Commander, but it leaves me in a pretty dominant position next turn. Because I have a weapon in hand, I can drop the Warbot plus Screwjank together. And if he doesn't kill the Warsong Commander, he gets punished really hard. So I expect him to Hero Power the Warsong Commander here. He really doesn't have any other option in that regard.
Someday I'll be just like you.
I don't think we're going to Death's... Oh, maybe we will. I was going to say, I wasn't going to Death Spite the Sorcerer's Apprentice at first. because I could use the minions to kill it. So let's see. If I buff the Warbot to 3/5, and I have Screwjank that's 2/5, do I need the Warbot to become a 4/4 if I want to play the Warbot before I attack with Death Spite? I don't think so. I think because he attacked me instead of clearing my Warsong Commander earlier, it might be because he's more face, because he values the damage on me more than he values me being able to take advantage of having the Warsong Commander in play. What the heck? What the heck? Okay, it's from Unstable Portal. Okay. I was like, there's no way he's running that in his deck, right? Well then. We could kill this with Death Spite and sacrifice our board. I mean, I take 8 damage and... 13? Can I... Is like any conceivable way I can race him? I mean, I can trade all my minions into this guy next turn. It'll be the same as attacking with the Death Spite, so I think it's almost better that I just play out my hand right now and draw the 2 cards. Because I can draw, like I said, I can draw into things like Execute here, which would have been the same as attacking it with Death Spite, in terms of the damage taken. But 13 is not a number I want to be at, because if he has like double Fireball in hand, or Fireball plus Frostbolt, this makes life really difficult for me.
I wonder.
On the plus side, I can Hero Power every turn after this. And maybe he might see the Jeeves as a big enough threat that he feels like he needs to kill it.
We have many
Kirintor. So Counterspell will probably be a problem for me. So it looks like he's gonna leave my Jeeves up. And he didn't go for the 8 damage to the face, so I feel a little bit better in terms of my HP. So we can play Jeeves, Frothing, Execute. And draw 2 more cards. So I guess the first order of business is we execute first, just to see if, well, I guess we want to see if it's duplicate too, right? Or mirror entity even. Alright, so I guess we play Jeeves first.
Can I help you, sir? Can I help you, sir?
And then we execute. And there are so many Jeeves in play. And I guess we want to kill Kirintor, make it so that the Frothing Berserker is harder to get rid of. There's so many Jeeves in play, I don't feel like I need a second Jeeves.
Let me get back.
So he could Flame Strike this turn. His deck is it's unclear whether this deck has the profile of a deck that runs Flame Strike, but I'm inclined to say no. Alright, Lotheb. And he actually has no way to deal with the Frothing Berserker, which is really good for us. Oh, look at that value. We'll even attack into the Jeeves here, just to get a little bit of extra damage. So it looks like his only out right now is now Flame Strike. So he run Jeeves into the Neotron, Flame Strike. Acolyte of Pain is still up. Nope, nothing you can do. Damn, I could be 3-0 today. If we had played around Bloodlust that last game. And when it comes to deck testing, it's not the win-loss rate that I care about ultimately. It's kind of like how many of my losses were actually avoidable. Because if I play the deck optimally, is ideally how you want to measure how good the deck is. So, despite my win rate, the deck actually has a lot more potential than the win rate shows, and the win rate actually isn't too bad so far. Alright, I'm gonna assume this is Mech Mage, although Mech Mage is starting to become less common. Neutron actually isn't very good against Mech Mage. You prefer having weapons and some of the 1-drops, like Cogmaster and Warbot. Well, I said I want weapons. I got weapons. So here's the hoping, like, he coins out Mech Warper and has no follow-up, so I can start using the Fiery War Axe as soon as possible. Mana Worm is just as good. Okay, so let's get to work. So one thing to note, when you have this many weapons, you want to be really aggressive about using them, because if you don't, if you just sit on the weapon in hand, then it's essentially a waste. Or the other weapons in your hands are essentially a waste. So I got some options here. He still has coin. Next turn he could play something that costs up to 4, which is probably going to be Piloted Shredder, which means Cruel Task and Fire War Axe, I think, end up being a really nice combination of plays. So we'll attack him, and we'll play Warbot and Cogmaster here. Yes, I did see the new Blackrock Mountain cards. I'm actually pretty excited for them. The Dragonkin Sorcerer is a card that I'm still trying to wrap my mind around. There actually aren't a lot of cards that... Void Caller. Okay. Flame Cannon. Okay. Alright, so this is a little bit more awkward for us. I think we might actually want to Fire War Axe and Cruel Task here to develop our board a little bit better. But at the same time, I wouldn't mind setting up my Death Spite for something like Sludge Belcher, which he can point out next turn. But yeah, the Dragonkin Sorcerer, I guess there aren't a lot of spells. Ugh. Now I wish I had Fire War Axe. So I can attack this, see what spawns, and then probably Cruel Task or trade, depending on what I need. Or I could go face. Face seems wrong. I think I kind of need to clear and then just hope I get into card draw, maybe. But overall, this game is not going well for me. Alright, we'll play the Warbot first, because I think a 2-2 is more important than 2-1. And that spell power could actually be fairly relevant, so we'll kill that. And we'll also equip this weapon. So I might have been too ambitious about using my weapons, as at this point I might kind of wish that these weapons were still here. So I could Cruel Task, execute. I could attack, play Piloted Shredder. Overall, nothing great for me.
What now?
I think I should probably say the execute for something a little bit bigger. Which means... not really great for me.
Battle commencing.
Do I have any tips for Arena? I do not. I'm not really much of an Arena player. I'm wondering how, like, exactly how much did that triple weapon opener hurt me? Because I was able to get value out of the Fire War Axe in killing the Mana Worm, and then I wasted some of it.
The mana.
By attacking his face because I had so many weapons in play. I wasn't expecting to get into this kind of game. I guess the Mana Worm could have been an indicator of what was to come. Wow. This is just really bad. I really need to get an Acolyte or a Jeeves here. And I definitely could have one extra charge of my weapon, or even more. So we can Cruel Task, we can attack, we can Cruel Task, we can Axe whatever spawns. It leaves us with only an Execute in hand and 2/2/2s. Alright, so we'll kill this first, and I guess I'll show you guys something if you haven't seen this before. But assuming that he runs Mirror Entity in his deck, when you kill something using a card that has a Battle Cry, it will actually get Mirror Entity'd if it's Mirror Entity. But it's not, so we actually get to know that this isn't Mirror Entity without actually kind of like playing it into it in a way. So I think this should be Duplicate or Counterspell or Ice Block. I can't see him running Ice Barrier in this deck. And he does have a lot of value on us. He has 4 cards on us, plus a Secret in play, plus the coin. I guess we'll see if it's Duplicate now. I guess we don't really have much of a choice if it is Duplicate. So I guess it looks like it's Counterspell. So we're gonna have to expect this Execute to not be very useful. Shredder, so it looks like our Frothing Berserker isn't long for this world. Second Frothing Berserker. This is actually incredibly bad for us. Like, if we play this Frothing Berserker, it just gets eaten by Pilot Shredder or Keyzon Mystic, which means it makes it better to trade right now.
What now?
So that it gets buffed at the very least. I don't really want to trade, but I don't think I have much of a choice. If I go for face, 7 damage, this deck doesn't have a lot of burst on its own, so I guess we'll trade into the Keyzon Mystic, and if it's Duplicate, it's actually one of the better cards to get duplicated. Nope, so it looks like it's Counterspell. So the very, very least that the Frothing Berserker will trade with the Piloted Shredder now. But yeah, it isn't looking good for us here. Like I said, we could have one extra charge of weapon, but I think even that probably wouldn't be enough in the board state that we have now. So this is actually a situation where this deck is letting us down. I think it has nothing to do with the play. It's just one of those occasions where like the inconsistency comes into play. I guess we'll see if it's Duplicate. But in the end, it doesn't really matter because, like, if that's Mirror Entity, I need the draws just as much as possible, so I think this is fine. Like, he'll draw an extra 2 cards, but I'm in such a dire situation that, you know, I guess this is acceptable. The alternate play would be to not play the Acolyte of Pain, and I don't think I have the time for that because he's just going to develop a bigger and bigger board.
Someday I'll be just like you.
It's a shame because I genuinely feel like this matchup is actually a really good matchup for us. Let's see. So Execute with Lotheb in play is kind of worthless. So we just play what we got, and I guess we keep praying. At the very least, we have maybe a 2-turn timer before things get really crappy for us. But yeah, looks like he drew many cards from the Acolyte. Like, how do we get ourselves out of this? We don't even really have any weapons left. So I guess this is kind of like the new thing that I've been hearing about. There's sort of like a tempo mage going around, where you use the Sorcerer's Apprentice kind of like a means of accelerating your deck. Like being able to play Mirror Entity to cost 1 less, or to cast Flame Cannon for 1 mana, which is all very good.
I'll be just like you.
There's a Jeeves. I guess the sequencing might be, I want to give him a Jeeves if he copies it, and that's fine. And then I guess we'll see what we draw, because it might be something useful. And then we'll just eat the counterspell, because we get to draw cards out of it.
Let me get that.
Okay. There is a little bit of hope. Not a lot of hope, but a little bit of hope. If I had drawn the Jeeves maybe 1 or 2 turns earlier, it could be a little bit different. Ooh, Grow Mash. Nice. Well played. That's pretty sick. So this game snowballed pretty heavily against my favor. I think I could have managed the early game a little bit differently, but I think this game was a game that I can't definitively say that I could have won. Although I think it's a matchup that can be in my favor. I think the first mistake was getting too ambitious about my weapons, because the idea of cycling through my weapons, I think, only makes sense if I can establish myself as the aggressor, and those weapons are relevant to getting lethal damage. But I was never able to do that, so the 3 damage to face never came into play. So I could have managed my weapons better. I think the mistake was I took a concept and took it too far. And the concept was, if you have a lot of weapons, you kind of want to start using them a little bit more aggressively. Ooh. Double Mech Warper is pretty good. I'm going to keep this entire hand. Now, the risky thing about this, though, is that if I play Mech Warper turn 2, he can respond with Coin Eaglehorn Bow. And Coin Eaglehorn Bow on my Mech Warper doesn't get me any value or tempo out of my Mech Warper. So assuming he doesn't play anything, I might actually consider playing the Fiery War Axe, or maybe even if he does, I might consider playing the Fiery War Axe. Like coining out the Mad Scientist here, or Haunted Creeper, alright. Alright, so this actually changes things a bit. If I play the Mech Warper now, it's a lot less likely he can kill it. Because with 2 mana, the only way he can kill it... Let's see the ways he can kill it. He can kill it with Arcane Shot, he can kill it with Hunter's Mark. But that's pretty much it. I guess he could kill it with Abusive Sergeant too. And that's actually common enough that I'm a little bit concerned. I'm going to go for it. There's some risk in this play, but there's very high reward. also, I can't really think of a great way to play around all of those cards. Because even with Fiery War Axe killing the Haunted Creeper over several turns... Alright, Ironbeak Owl. That actually isn't as bad. So we can play Mechwarrior, Annoyotron. He'll run the Haunted Creeper into the Annoyotron. But it does help me establish tempo a little bit better. That also means that his best response is Ironbeak Owl, which is good, kind of good news. So this Annoyotron's Divine Shield gets wasted a little bit. But this is probably our best tempo play. My poll is down. Trying to see what's going on. Wow, is that a second Ironbeak Owl? Wow. Okay, let's see. Screwjank looks like the most attractive play right now. How do we want to deal with this? We kill the Web Spinner. We'll trade into the Ironbeak. We'll pump the Taunt because we care about that the most, and he has no more silences. I like that. And then, how much do I worry about Houndmaster here? Because Haunted Creeper is the only target left for Houndmaster. So Web Spinner says that that's a distinct possibility, but what happens if he does do that? He'll run into a 3-4. He'll die. I'll Axe, and I'll kill off the 1/1s, and that takes up his entire turn. I guess it's not really worth taking that chance. Like, the damage right now isn't that relevant to me. Yeah, that's the website. www.smesh.net/p/razor. I know that the website might have some issue with certain browsers, certain devices. So that might be a reason why it might seem down. I'm kind of curious as to exactly how effective Jeeves is going to be. Like, who can dump hands faster? Okay, so he's making it look like Explosive Trap. I suppose I should set up for, Jeeves next turn, but to rewind back a turn, the attack that I made this possible, because this was a 3-4, and the Haunted Creeper by itself wouldn't have been able to make it so my Annoyotron dies in an Explosive Trap. Anyways, I think we gotta play into the Explosive Trap. Because if I don't, I just sit on this. Well, am I really worried about Unleash? Okay, we'll play into the Explosive Trap, because I feel like I need to... be able to dump my hand a little bit. Because I should be able to get at least 2 cards, maybe 1 to 2 cards out of Jeeves, and he still has a pretty full hand. Like, a lot of this deck is posturing to give yourselves a much better Jeeves than they can. Or than they have, rather. Like, here, I'm actually going to use this execute.
Can I help you, sir?
Because I get the extra card draw. And it's hard for him to dump his hand as mid-range hunter. So I'm going to get a lot more value out of Jeeves than he will. So he might actually view the Jeeves as a big enough threat to kill it. He has no more silences, so the best way to kill this is actually kill command, but he needs a beast for that. And that's a huge investment. So the alternate play would be to ignore the Jeeves, but then I end up getting pretty crazy value out of it.
Show them all!
Do we win? No, probably not. Okay. So, if we axe the piloted shredder...
I wonder.
We attack... Alright, let's see. We attack with the Screwjank. That's 8. Okay, we attack the Screwjank, that's 4, 3, 7. That puts him at 15. Jeeves is worth 2. Oh hell, let's just go for it. So what's the play? What's the play?
Oh, yes, sir. Let me get
Like, I don't know. I think we wouldn't have had lethal anyways, but I wanted to see how close we could get. Because there is definitely something really cool that we could do there with the explosive trap and the things it had. But I think we were in the end we were still slightly short. Well, in the end, it doesn't really matter. I think we win anyways. We were able to get many cards off of Jeeves before he was able to.
Anything. I'll fix you.
Well spotted.
But yeah, I think one of the key things in that matchup, outside of the fact that he had to silence all my mech warpers, was that the execute on the Sludge Belcher was a really nice tempo play. Like, I didn't try to save it for something bigger. It was just, like, this deck doesn't really have the time to save for bigger threats. Save execute for bigger threats sometimes. Sometimes you just need to use it as a tempo play. And sometimes that means killing something really small, like a 1-1. Although I must say that is pretty rare. Okay, so we're up against Warrior, and what do we got? I don't really like the Cogmaster MechWarrior opener against Warrior, because a single Fiery War Axe will set us back so far. But he did mulligan all his cards, so I feel like the likelihood that he has that goes down significantly. So I think this hand's actually good to keep then.
I can fix anything.
So we'll see if he drew into a Fiery War Axe, and the chances of that, I think, are low enough that this could actually pay off. Alright, so now he needs to deal with this Mech Warper, or I get the Piloted Shredder out. And because I saw that he had no Fiery War Axe, it becomes very difficult to deal with. Like, the best way to deal with it now is something like Cruel Task Execute. But on a Mech Warper, that feels really bad.
Let the pain speak to me.
Alright, so this enables us to save our coin. So we'll play the Piloted Shredder, and we'll take out the Acolyte, just so we can deny the draw. And it's also really bad to leave it up, because Cruel Task will buff it, and then he'll get multiple draws out of it while killing a creature. So we're in a great spot right now. Let's see what he does. So he drew the Fiery War Axe finally, and he kills the Mech Warper a turn a little too late. Alright, so if we set up the Death Spite now and hit him, put him at 16, we can actually Warsong Commander coin Frothing Berserker in the next turn. Although I don't think that's necessary. Like, let's assume he drops Sludge Belcher and he kills my piloted Shredder. He'll be at 16. He'll be at 12. I'm trying to figure out if maybe playing the Fiery War Axe now is better. We'll go for it. I guess Harrison is probably the reason not to do this. And he can play Harrison on curve because of this. Like, maybe I should have played the Fiery War Axe as kind of Harrison bait. Okay, there's the Sludge Belcher. The question is, do we win? I don't think so, but let's check anyways. We play Frothing, we play Warsong. There are 4 minions on the board. We run the Cogmaster in first, so there'll be 4 minions on the board total after that. So that's 2 damage plus the 4 minions. That's 6. 1 more for attacking the Sludge Belcher. That's 7. The Spone Splinter Trog attack. That's 9. And then the Frothing Berserker is 2. So I believe I'll be 1 damage off lethal. But I think that's enough to say let's go. I guess I miscounted. I guess I'm 2 off lethal, not 1, because the Sludge Belcher died from the damage that the Cogmaster did. Nice. So I think what was pivotal in this matchup was I made a read that it seemed less likely to have Fiery War Axe. Because 1, he mulliganed all his cards and didn't... Well, he mulliganed all his cards. So if he mulliganed for Fiery War Axe, he didn't keep it. And just drawing Fiery War Axe, the likelihood I think was low enough that I could justify that risk. If he did draw Fiery War Axe, it would have been a very different game though. Alright, up against Druid. What do we want against Druid? I don't know if our Anoyotrons are that great. I think I really do want Mech Warper and the 1-drops. Weapons. Piloted Shredder isn't bad, but you have better or cheaper cards to mulligan for. Yeah, this is more like it. There we go. Cogmaster. With Anoyotron backup. This is going to make for a very aggressive start. I play Anoyotron, hit him for 3. Next turn I play Acolyte of Pain. So, in a board state like this, he might end up wrathing my Cogmaster. So someone asked, does Control Warrior usually mulligan for acts against other warriors? I'm not actually sure. I'm not much of a Control Warrior player. Okay, so that's a pretty strong play from him. I'm trying to think. What's the best way to deal with this? I should probably attack my Cogmaster in. Maybe. Because he's most likely going to kill my Anoyotron next turn. He's going to Hero Power and kill it. So the Druid of the Claw is going to be at 5 life. The Cogmaster, we'll put him at 2. And then next turn I can Cruel Task my Acolyte of Pain. Alright, so we should attack, because the attack buff that we get from the mechs in play isn't likely going to be around next turn. So I'd be surprised if he did something other than... Oh, he doesn't want to Hero Power. That's actually kind of good for me. Because now I get to preserve the Divine Shield. And not waste damage.
Bring the pain.
So Phone Tap says I could also Cruel Task Cogmaster for exactly what I need. I think that would have worked too, but this ended up being more rewarding. Actually, yeah, the idea was that I could play the Acolyte instead of the Cruel Task, but having the clear wasn't a bad play either. I'm gonna save this Warbot for the Hobgoblin, so I'm gonna Hero Power here. But yeah, you raise a good point. Like, if he didn't play the Shade of Naxxramas, then the play that I made earlier probably would have been worse. But I would still get 2 cards from my Acolyte of Pain. Okay, so next question. How scared... Yeah, I wonder if it was correct too. How scared am I of Mind Control Techie? Because I could Hobgoblin plus Warbot right now. But playing the Piloted Shredder is almost as good. I don't have another card to follow up, so Piloted Shredder might be a little bit better. Because I could draw into a Noyotron, I could draw into another Cogmaster. Let's give this a try. And we'll continue to save this Warbot even though we can play it. So you can tell that I'm still a little bit uncomfortable with this deck when I'm thinking a lot more about my own plays than what things he can do. Ooh. Warsong Frothing does some work, and imagine this. If Warsong Commander wasn't bugged, then I could cast Warsong Commander, attack with the Piloted Shredder, and then if the Piloted Shredder gives me a 3-2, I could have a board clear and charge with the Frothing Berserker. Unfortunately, I can't do that. So I might just play Frothing Berserker by himself. And then Fiery War Axe, the Shade. Now the next question is, like, do I want to play into BGH? Like, do I want to even play Frothing Berserker at all? Because what if I did this? And just hit him. Because this sets up Warsong Commander Frothing Warbot in a future turn. And then also he still probably is more inclined to trade here. It leaves a Shade up, which is really risky. But I have a lot of damage set up. I don't know if I ever had stream quality options. So he takes 4 damage anyways, which I'm fine with here. Is there any chance we have lethal here? We hit him for 4, puts him at 12. There'll be 4 minions in play, so that's another 4 damage, puts him at 8. The Warbot is worth 2. This puts him at 6, plus the Frothing puts him at 4. But even if it's not lethal, we can put him in a position where he needs to kill a lot of things or he loses. So I think we're going to play Warsong Commander anyways with the Frothing Berserker. And the well, I guess end the Warbot too. And then we'll kill the Shade to make life more difficult for him. So, what is this, like, how does he survive? He drops BGH. Okay, there's a Wrath, and he still needs to kill the Warsong Commander.
I've got the beast in my sights.
Okay, looks like we win. So that's what we call like a 2-turn lethal. There was a lot of risk involved, but there were multiple threats that he needed to kill. I don't know why he didn't BGH the Frothing and Wrath the Warsong Commander. That was just kind of weird.
Can I help you, sir? Yes, sir.
Alright, well, that worked out for us. Like, there was no reason not to BGH the Frothing, right? I was so confused. So that would have prevented lethal that turn. And that's part of the reason why I reset stats when I reach certain rank milestones, but I can definitely thank ending that game that turn to that guy. I don't even know. Alright, against Druid. This seems like a reasonable opener. So, open with Warbot, turn to a Neutron, turn 3 coin the Screwjank, and I have a weapon to follow up in future turns. I have a 1-drop, 2-drop, a 4-drop that I can coin on turn 3, and I have a weapon which lets me adapt to a Zombie Chow opener, which means instead I'll... Do I want to coin Fiery War Axe here? I don't think he'll have a turn 2 play. But for me, it's more about... It lets me play Warbot plus Cogmaster next turn instead of War Axing. Like, let's assume I coin War Axe, he Wild Growths. I play Warbot plus Cogmaster. He plays a 4-drop like Keeper of the Grove. Alternately, if I don't coin War Axe, then he'll attack me, he'll Wild Growth. I War Axe next turn, he plays a 4-drop. but he has no targets for Keep of the Grove. So he could play Shredder. So I could hit the Shredder with the Fiery War Axe.
Nature will rise against you.
Alright, we'll coin it out. This is a play I don't typically like. Mainly because this helps us with tempo. Because we get to play the Warbot and Cogmaster one turn earlier, and it also makes it so that he has to respond to it off curve. So he doesn't even have Wild Growth here, which is pretty good for us. So yeah, we play Warbot and Cogmaster here. As turn 3 plays, he mainly has Shade that we're worried about. If you Wraths, that's fine, because then we just follow up with Acolyte of Pain. So Acolyte is kind of tempting here, but Noyotron, I think, is a better tempo play, even though it doesn't match up the curve as well. And then later on, well, basically it's this turn I Noyotron, next turn I Screwjank, and the following turn I Acolyte plus a Noyotron. Because what this will force is he'll probably Hero Power the Noyotron, attack with the Shade, I get to kill it with the Axe, and he plays nothing. So I start to get a lot of damage in. Alternate plays is he could swipe the Cogmaster. But that's essentially the same as Hero Powering, except that he kills one extra creature. That Wrath also similar. But he doesn't even attack, which is kind of risky. So if he attacks next turn, it's still in Axe range, so I think Screwjank here is fine. And I'm gonna buff the Warbot, because next turn I'm just gonna drop a Noyotron anyways. And the idea is that the Noyotron is likely gonna die, regardless of what I do. Okay, what do we got? We got MechWarrior, a Noyotron, nothing. We got Acolyte of Pain, a Noyotron. We're going to Axe the Shade for sure. We'll probably kill the Kizan Mystic. Maybe. And then play Acolyte plus a Noyotron. Right, I don't think there are any better plays. I could MechWarrior plus Jeeves, which isn't bad either. So let's say I kill the Shade of Naxxramas with the Axe. I'm not particularly vulnerable to swipe, I don't think. So I think a Noyotron, Acolyte of Pain is right. And then I'm going to make it more difficult for him to pop the Noyotron. I miss out on 3 damage here, but I think I make a more difficult board state for him. I think the big thing would be bad for me is Mind Control Techie, but I actually haven't seen a lot of Mind Control Techies lately. Alright, so he Wraths this, and he probably Hero Powers. Okay. And next turn, I can play MechWarrior plus Jeeves, and then draw at least 2 cards. It's possible I even get a card that I can play and draw 3. So MechWarrior, Warbot, Jeeves, and I refill my hand. And for Druid, this is a really difficult board state because they don't have any high damage board clears. And this is what I was talking about before, about how Acolyte of Pain actually can play nice with Jeeves because the draw is deferred. So you can play the Acolyte, then play Jeeves, draw cards from Jeeves, and then draw cards from Acolyte later.
I must safeguard the land.
The funny thing about this board state, though, is we don't even have room to play all our cards. Like, we play Dr. Boom, and our Boom bots don't have any place to spawn. Hobgoblin MechWarrior problems. Alright, let's get a draw. And... now what? We want to kill the Keeper. Yeah, he doesn't want anything to do with this. Alright, so we're starting to get on a bit of a streak today. I guess I should have reset my stats before I started today, so I could better keep track of today's session. But how did it go? I think we beat 2 druids, we beat a hunter. Did we beat a hunter? We did. I think we went 1-1 against a mage. Anyways, I guess shouldn't be too concerned about that. Alright, up against Shaman. Fire Axe is great. I think Cogmaster and Cruel Task is okay. I would feel a lot better about this Cogmaster if I had a mech to follow it up with. But I do have a weapon, so if he plays something that would kill the Cogmaster, I have the weapon. This deck is highly synergy based, so based off of what you have or what you don't have, certain cards rise and fall in value. For example, in my opening hand, I have Cruel Task and Fire Axe, which means when I play Cogmaster turn 1, if he plays something that would eat the Cogmaster for free, I have the weapon to kill it, or I have the Cruel Task to help with the combat math to get a favorable trade. So even though I don't have a mech here, this plays fine because of the support I have. I'm actually considering coining out the Warsong Commander or the Acolyte of Pain next turn. Playing Cruel Task doesn't seem very good right now. The Haunted Creeper. Like, I could try to kill this creeper. Well, let's look at it this way. If I coin out the Acolyte of Pain, I can get punished by Rockbiter, Lightning Ball, Earth Shock. Well, Earth Shock is a little bit less punishing. Flame Tongue Totem. In response to Flame Tongue Totem, I have Fiery War Axe. Alright, we'll coin it out. It's high risk, high reward, I think. Our Shaman did keep 1 card, and I'm not sure what card he would keep against, assuming that he thought I was Control Warrior. I'm not sure what card he would keep. But yeah, alright, there's the Flame Tongue, and of course he's gonna kill the Acolyte of Pain. So Anoyotron allows me to kill the Flame Tongue without using a weapon. But the Anoyotron just runs in the Creeper. But I guess it isn't the worst thing, because it still kills the Creeper. And then next turn, I can use Anoyotron plus Cogmaster to kill the 1/1s. Have Cruel Task to help and a weapon. I think it's a little bit better than playing the weapon, even though I have 2 of them. So even though I lost value with the Acolyte, or potential value from the Acolyte, I got to trade for a free Flame Tongue Totem, which I'm very happy about. On top of maintaining a pretty decent board state. And we have a board clear here. We War Axe a wolf, we kill a wolf, we kill a 1/1, we play Cruel Task. That sounds good to me. So if there's something that I should be worried about right now, it's that I'm starting to run uncomfortably low on cards. I mean, I guess 4 cards isn't considered uncomfortable, but I've been burning a lot of cards. Because this Warbot by itself isn't a whole lot of value. The value density of my hand is a lot lower than, say, the Shaman. So it is a little bit concerning because these are also very weak minions. But I guess I do have a weapon in play, and he is overloaded. Ooh, Dr. Boom. So we have Dr. Boom in 2 turns. This turn I think is best for piloted Shredder. And I guess we could Warbot too.
No problem.
Alternate play would be to Warsong Commander Warbot, but I don't really see the point of that. And then, like, do we want to attack with this weapon? I don't think we do. So this board state is looking good for us. He can Lightning Storm, but we have 2 minions that don't die straight up to Lightning Storm. Okay, so we'll weapon the Shredder here. Ooh, and we can even play Warsong Commander plus Frothing Berserker, which we will because it fits our curve perfectly. We absolutely don't have lethal here, but because 28 life is far beyond the reach of this. But we do have a lot of damage. So what this actually might do is it might force out a Hex on the Frothing Berserker, because you don't really see Shaman really run BGH. So even if he finds a way to somehow magically deal with my board, I still have Dr. Boom next turn. Okay, I think we probably have lethal here, and he's not even going to bother. So someone asked, how come this guy has so few viewers? He has the best commentary I've heard. I think a big part of it is because I haven't streamed consistently at all. I regularly go through periods of time where I'm just too busy to stream, or sometimes I just don't feel like it. Usually how much I feel like streaming is proportional to how interesting of a deck I can make. Because I don't really like playing a lot of the mainstream decks, especially when I stream. Because I feel like it's not as fun, it's not as interesting. So in the Hunter matchup, we absolutely love having these 1-drops. The next question is, which 1-drop do you want to play first? Each has its own advantages. I think I like playing Cogmaster first here, because it answers... Well, Warbot is good too. They're good for different reasons. For Knife Juggler, I prefer having Cogmaster, because the extra toughness in the Warbot is wasted. But if you play something like Mad Scientist, then Warbot is better. A little bit. Because the Warbot can attack it and survive, and then I can play Cruel Task to follow it up. So this first turn is actually quite difficult, because... Alright, so he kept a lot of cards. We'll go for the Cogmaster play, I think. Razor is the only streamer I allow email notifications when he goes live. Alright, so he's playing some type of Face Hunter here. Double Worgen Infiltrator. Okay. I think Warbot is best here. I think Cruel Task doesn't make any sense. We're gonna use Cruel Task to kill this. So, alright. So this turn is easy. Basically, Twitch says, really like all your decks, dude. You're by far the most original streamer. Well, thank you.
Put this apple on your head.
Okay, so this match so far is going really well for us. We're gonna use the Fire War Axe on this Knife Juggler and this Worgen Infiltrator. If he doesn't use it this turn, then it's not gonna be able to get past the Noyotron. But if he does use it, I have Cruel Task. So he doesn't. It's like a no-win scenario for him. Got a couple options here. So, one idea I have right now is that I actually axe the Huffer here, play a Noyotron and Cruel Task, buffing the Warbot and hitting him for 4. Because I believe that I can outrace him with that board state. The safer play is to Cruel Task the Huffer and attack into the Warbot. So basically the difference is who gets a 4-2. Let's give this a try. I feel very confident in the idea of outracing Face Hunter, and those may be my famous last words. Because what happens if he just silences the Noyotron, runs the Worgen into the Warbot? I'm gonna be so sad. And there it is. But the thing about this is that I still have fairly good board tempo. Am I brave enough to play Jeeves in this matchup? Well, my board state's already pretty strong. If I Cruel Task the Ironbeak, I do get exposed to Explosive Trap. He kept one card, and it might be... He wouldn't keep Explosive in opening hand. But I like the idea of Death Spiting, attacking... Puts him at a lot lower life. And the next turn I can Jeeves and Cruel Task at the same time, draw 2 cards. Maybe set up for Warsong Commander play. I might get punished for playing the Jeeves against Face Hunter, but I'm pretty confident about my racing strategy. Or at the very least, I want to try it.
I'll show them. I'll show them all.
Okay, I'm a little bit less confident now. But there's the Warsong Commander. If I can draw into Frothing Berserker, this is going to be an epic win. But if I don't, this is going to be very, very bad. Maybe I don't even play Jeeves here. Maybe I just attack. A Warsong Commander, and then Cruel Task, that's worth 6 damage. Puts him at 10. And then what will he do? Alright, we'll go for the damage game.
Let me get that.
I think I lose this game, but I really wanted to try this strategy. I never really tried it. So he can't attack me with the bow unless he wants to lose the charges off of it, which means Jeeves, if he gets cards off of Jeeves, it's at least a 2-turn lethal.
Ready to ride.
He doesn't care about that.
Let me get that.
Okay. So, do we have a chance to win here? I guess the Cruel Task is dead anyway, so we have 5 damage. Puts him at 7. So Dr. Boom gives us a chance to win, but it doesn't give us the win. And if we... mistakes were made, but this was worth a try. 8 life. So we have to make this trade. And then I think we have to hero power or we lose. For sure. And I guess we'll play the Acolyte to give us a chance. Yeah, maybe I should have just played Dr. Boom, but I don't feel like he has guaranteed lethal either. With hero power, he still needs to play something like... Well, with hero power, he only has 5 mana, alright? With 5 mana, it's actually not that easy to deal 6 damage. Because it's not enough mana for kill command, kill command. It's not enough mana for kill command plus Wolf Rider or Arcane, because they all cost 3 mana, which means the only way for him to kill me through that is Abusive Sergeant. But if he puts me down to 2 life... Okay, so now I need to hero power, or I die to Explosive Trap. So what I'm really hoping for is drawing into a Frothing Berserker, but the chances of that seem so improbable. Is there any other way? So I can't even hero power Dr. Boom. So I have, what, 6 damage? I guess we draw, right?
Bring the pain.
Oh my gosh. We got exactly what we needed.
Charge forward. Let me be thirsty.
Oh, yes, sir.
Nice strike.
Admittedly, that was part of the reason why I played Acolyte, so I'd have another chance to draw a card for what we needed. But, man, I could not have asked that to go any better than it did. So, a note on that game... It should not have gone to that. I probably could have won that more decisively, but I opted to play super risky in the beginning. And then I had to rely on a Frothing Berserker draw. Granted, I kind of like postured by playing the Acolyte to give myself more chances to get it. That's probably one of the most exciting finishes I've had in a while. Alright, Paladin is a really difficult matchup for us, but Mech Warper is a card that's difficult for him to deal with. Death Spite is a good card, but it might be a little bit too slow. I'm going to put it back. Even though, in some cases, I would consider keeping it, I think it's too slow. I'm going to just ship it back here. I think going first, keeping Death Spite is a lot worse, because you don't have the option of coining it out. Okay, I don't really see any reason to play the MechWarrior here, because he can coin... he can coin Muster to kill the MechWarrior. But this does make this next turn a little bit trickier, because he still has coin, so he could coin True Silver. Ideally, I'd like to save Acolyte for Hobgoblin, but I think I can justify playing the Acolyte here, as if he doesn't have True Silver, then I get 2 draws out of the Acolyte Pain, or Silence. And if he does have True Silver, I cycle into another card that could combo with Hobgoblin that's cheaper than Acolyte. Like, I could cycle into a Warbot Cogmaster or an Neotron faster. The way that he's struggling with this turn, he probably doesn't have True Silver. So this risk paid off. Okay, so we have a board clear here. Let's see what we draw first. Well, actually, we don't even need to damage our Acolyte that much with our board clear. We can use if we're willing to take extra damage, we can actually Cruel Task the shielded Minibot to pop the shield. It lines up for Consecrate, and I'd take 2 extra damage. But against Paladin, I can afford that damage, I think. So, we'll see what we draw first. Okay, Warsong Commander. Alright, so we'll take the extra damage, and we'll play into Consecrate somewhat. But this also kind of nullifies his hero power, because the hero power will now allow him to get potentially 3 draws out of Acolyte. Alright, so I know he doesn't have True Silver, because the play that he made was far, far worse than True Silver. Alright, but he does have Muster, I think. This looks like a Muster play. And the extra 1 HP on the Acolyte makes this absolutely worth it. Alright, so it looks like the MechWarrior is going to die, but I do get many, many draws. Alright, so let's see what we draw first.
Bring the pain.
And we will be killing the Knife Juggler for sure. What do we do with our leftover mana? He can have Quartermaster next turn, which makes playing the Cruel Task a little bit more appealing than playing other things. The other good thing about it is that it forces him to still need to deal with the Warsong Commander. Hey, Curious. Nice to see you drop by again. And the Warsong Commander actually lets us full clear this board. Alternately, we could play MechWarrior and Piloted Treader, which is a much, much stronger play if we're not worried about Quartermaster. I think I'm okay taking the weaker play to make absolutely sure that I don't die to Quartermaster, or don't like give him an opportunity to come back into this game. Sometimes you just need to ignore, like, sometimes you don't always clear, sometimes you just need to ignore what they have. So he Aldors the Warsong Commander, which is fine. The climb is going really well today. I've actually won a lot of my games. So, here's something that you guys should know when playing this deck. When you play Hobgoblin and Cogmaster, if there's a mech in play, the Cogmaster will be buffed to 5. If there's a Warsong Commander in play, you won't get charged from that. So, even though I might want a Hobgoblin, MechWarrior, Cogmaster, what that will result in is they won't all get charge. So I'm gonna actually just double Cogmaster, which in the end is a better play anyways. And we'll kill the Aldor, obviously, to protect our Hobgoblin. And now he needs something like Equality Consecrate to stay in this game. Avenging Wrath, interesting. Alright, that's very random, but that's most likely going to give him a decent clear. The question is, though, what is the biggest threat to him? Hobgoblin seems like the biggest threat, but I don't have any more Hobgoblin things, which actually makes Warsong Commander potentially a slightly larger threat. I've tried the ordering, and I don't think the ordering is... Yeah, you could actually play the MechWarrior after, but I was explaining that just to prove a point. Ooh, Frothing. We'll save it. Or should we? Or shouldn't we? I think it's important to get the Frothing Berserker in play. Well, we'll play the Piloted Shredder first. Well, okay, we need to really think this out before we do anything. So we could MechWarrior plus Piloted Shredder and Hero Power, or we can Piloted Shredder plus Frothing. If we put the Frothing into play, I kind of like that, because if he True Silvers the Frothing, it leaves the Warsong Commander alive, and there's still a bunch of stuff on the board. Even though we don't get to take advantage of the MechWarrior's cost reduction, this is still pretty strong. And we have an Execute for the first big taunt. So turn 8 Tyrion, we have an Execute to help us with that. But despite all the cards we've drawn with Acolyte, oh, he just gives up. I guess he has no ways to deal with that. Nice. So we're actually doing really well today. I think we lost one game that was winnable, and we lost a game that was probably not winnable. And then I think we won the rest of our games. So people really seem to like that I keep the stats on my stream, so I'll probably keep it. I kind of don't like how it takes up so much space, because it makes the resolution kind of weird, and the format a little weird. But it's really good for deck testing. Hans Gruber. Priest. Alright, so let's think about this. What am I worried about in Priest? We're worried about Dark Cultist, I think, is the thing that will give us the most problems. Especially if they get multiple minions in play. So obviously, Axe will help with this, and so will Cruel Task, because that will allow me to deal 4 damage. I like the idea of having a 1-drop. So now the question is Jeeves worth keeping? If we play turn 1 Warbot, turn 2 Fiery War Axe, turn 3 Cruel, maybe. I think conventional wisdom says throw back Jeeves, but I want to keep him, just to try it. I mean, despite me trying a bunch of stuff, I've still been doing pretty well. I actually believe Hans Gruber is a reference to Die Hard. I think the villain in the first Die Hard movie was named Hans Gruber. And we'll coin out the Cogmaster. Get some early pressure going. The nice thing about this board right now is that it's very difficult to Shadow Madness. So I could play the Cruel Task and try to get the damages in. That's 7 damage. But it puts everybody at 2 HP, which means a Pyromancer play could be really, really good against me. It's good to know that he doesn't have the coin. And it's one more turn before he can Arcanized Circle. The other thing is, if I Cruel Task, it makes me somewhat immune to Shadow Madness. Alright, let's go for the damage play. I typically don't like this, But again, let's try some stuff, let's see how it goes. You can't learn new decks, you can't make new things if you don't try things that are a little bit less common. Oh, that's annoying. Makes me wish I had the MechWarrior. So I could trade everything I have into that. But that seems kind of weak.
What now?
But it does let me keep the MechWarrior alive. At this point, though, I think the MechWarrior is a lot less of a threat. Alternately, I could play Fire War Axe, trade 2 guys in. Next turn, I still don't really have a play. So if I play MechWarrior, let's see, Shadow Madness is strong, but he won't be able to heal. I could clear the Blade Master, but I'd play Fire War Axe and play nothing else. Alright, we'll just go for this. We are getting a lot of damage in. And he might not be able to clear this board as fast as he would like. Light of the Naru. Okay.
In the light's name.
So he actually spends a lot of cards to make that happen. So let's see, the next target he's likely going to kill. Sure, hell, HS, you can link a video. You can educate people about Die Hard. Alright, so the main question is which weapon is more important? Or if we play a minion and trade. I kind of like playing Death Spite because there's an off chance I might be able to play something with the Fiery War Axe in a future turn. Although playing the Shredder is really strong. The cost reduction doesn't really matter to me now. Alright, so alternately we can clear the board. And I think that with the way that he's spent cards, maybe clearing the board is better. Because this keeps our MechWarrior alive, which allows us to potentially shove more cards in one play. It sets up the Death Spite. Okay, that's actually okay. He draws 1 card, but because of the Whirlwind effect, the Fiery War Axe just punches right through this. So I think Shredder is nice. And Fire War Axe, because it's more pressure and we don't really need Jeeves value yet. Like, we could actually just kill him. And then if we have a card that we can play it with Jeeves. So the card that we missed drawing from Jeeves last turn actually could be made up for by drawing a card now. Oh yeah, gotta love the Hobgoblin. And unless of course this Shredder gives us a Doomsayer, then we'll be super sad. That's not actually that great, but can't complain. Yeah, they don't make action movies like Die Hard anymore. Alright, so he does have a clear with Akanai Circle, but he used 1 circle so far. Oh, does he have it anyways? Nope, he just hero powers here. Okay, I was like, what's going on? Alright, I think it's pretty important to kill the Akanai.
I
could Dr. Boom. But I want to kind of milk my Hobgoblin for value while I can.
What now?
Like, I guess I don't mind giving up my MechWarrior.
Yes, sir. Goblins Let me get that.
This executes a really nice thing to have in my pocket in case he draws a big card or big taunt. This is a pretty resilient board to mass removal. Oh, come on. Where's my Warsong Commander? Okay. I think we're going to miss out on some Jeeves value this turn. Like, I'm so far ahead, it's actually really hard to lose this. Like, I could execute this and just go all face. Ah, that's fine. Let's do that. And then maybe Dr. Boom.
Goblins and gnomes.
Kind of diversify the threats we have on the board. Or I could get more Jeeves value. I mean, honestly, like... let's just play as many Hobgoblin value minions as possible. And get that extra draw.
Do you like to play with fire?
Oh my god, look at this value. I get 2 draws from Acolyte and my Frothing Berserker gets buffed.
Well played.
Honorable Sudoku. Wow, we're doing really well today. Based off of last stream session, I didn't think we'd be doing as well as we would today. I thought that I would be lucky to hit rank 3, but I'm well past rank 3, or a lot farther along than I thought I'd be. So it's almost 7 o'clock, and that's the end of my stream. I'll play one more game, and then I'll let you guys know what's going on later this week. But yeah, today has been a really good win-loss ratio. We actually balanced out the losses that we had from the previous stream to almost get up to 70% win ratio from rank 5+. Alright, so... Anotron Cruel Task is pretty good against Hunter. I think that spite is a little bit too slow. We want to try to get some earlier drops. And we also might want Fiery War Axe instead. Alright, so if he's Face Hunter, then Cruel Task ends up becoming MVP. Honorable Sudoku. Honorable Subaru. So what is ideal for us? Turn 1 Leper Gnome.
I'll show them. I'll show them all.
Alright, we'll use one of our Neurotrons here. Okay, so if we wait a few turns, we can actually get some pretty decent Hobgoblin value instead of playing the Cogmaster now. It's not really clear what this guy is playing. He's Legend rank 74, so I would make the guess that he's playing... He's playing mid-range Hunter, alright? So... because of that, I'm going to try to take advantage of the freezing trap. If I'm wrong, I'm going to get punished for this. But if I'm right, I think this puts us in a pretty decent position. Snake Trap. Oh, now that's actually kind of bad for us. Does it justify playing the Cogmaster? Probably not. And he trades, which is fine. Like, that could have been worse. He could have played like a Cult Master, and then we would be in an awful spot. Alright, Piloted Shredder is the play here. Next turn we play Hobgoblin plus Onoyotron, or if we have a better play, we'll wait, and then the following turn we can play Hobgoblin, Onoyotron, Cogmaster. These 1/1s are somewhat problematic. Alright, so we do have an alternate play to playing Hobgoblin this turn, and that's playing Frothing plus Cruel Task. The thing I need to think about is whether I want to attack with this Shredder. Whether I think it's likely that I'll be able to activate Freezing Trap with the different minion versus him having a weapon and getting an extra charge off of it. If I play Frothing Berserker and I Cruel Task the Haunted Creeper, he'll probably run the 2 Haunted Creeper spawns into the Cruel Task to get a better Freezing Trap. But then that also leaves the Frothing Berserker up, which he'll maybe Kill Command. Kill Command means he won't have mana for bow, so I won't attack, and I'll play the Frothing Berserker. I feel kind of less concerned about the threats he has for having lots of minions in play, because he had that turn when he had the Snake Trap, and he didn't play Cult Master, he didn't play like an Animal Companion for Leok, he didn't do any of those things. And there's the kill command for the Frothing Berserker, kind of as expected in a way. At this point, I'm not sure if I can get a better freezing target. Let's see, I could play Hobgoblin, Noyotron, and Warbot, right? Although I might want to play the Cogmaster instead. So, I know Hobgoblin Noyotron is happening. How does he deal with that? He gets a Juggle to hit the Noyotron. He would probably end up losing his Knife Juggler. And at this point, everything I play is likely going to be bigger than the Piloted Shredder, except the Hobgoblin, which I don't mind bouncing back to my hand. So again, I don't think I'm going to attack. Even though this might be a second Snake Trap, I don't think it's worth the risk. So I'll play Hobgoblin.